Hi friends, today we're gonna discuss about the most liked and the frequently asked interview question. I hope we will have an interesting discussion today. My name is Vinod Kumar. Welcome to my channel. Let's get started. So before jumping into the question, so let's see the agenda for today. So we'll see on what is the intention behind this question, why the interviewer tries to ask these kind of questions. Next, we'll deep dive into the concept overview and get some understanding over the concept in order to resolve similar questions. Next, we'll see how to solve these kind of questions. How do you approach to these kind of questions, which is nothing but a solution discussion. Next, we will see some examples, which are nothing but practice snippets, and then we'll jump into the summary, followed by the additional questions what can be asked. Here is the question on the screen, friends. I recommend you to pause this video and try to solve this question and then compare the answers with my answers at the end. I assume you have paused the video and tried the same. So let's deep dive into the first agenda. So here now we will see what is the intention of this question being asked. So what kind of questions will be asked on similar lines. So the expectation is to know the difference between the where and let. So the concept on the set timeout. So in order to solve this question with some additional tricks, right? So you also need to know the concept called as a closure and if is nothing but immediately invoke function expressions. But these two are optional to solve this question. So let's deep dive into the concept overview. So here we will be discussing about a concept called as a where versus let. So the major differences between the where and let are on the screen. So where is majorly a function scope, let is a block scope. This is given inside the ES6 feature. Where can be redeclared, let cannot be redeclared, where can be hoisted, whereas let is not hoisted at all. So these are the three major differences between the where and let, and this will be helpful in order to solve these question. Uh, so for the people who are new to this concept, right? So let's have some discussion with some examples. So you will get a deep understanding of what is function scope, what is block scope, why it can't be redeclared, and let can be redeclared, and about the hoisting. So here is the example, friends. So where we will learn about the what is called as a function scope versus a block scope. As you can see on the screen, we have a function called as greet, where we have a variable a hello declared with that of a let. We have a console b uh, logged, and we have an if condition. We have a declaration with b, and we have a console log over here. So before trying to solve this question, right? So we'll try to understand the concept, compilation process of that of a JavaScript. So the compilation process of JavaScript works in two-way process. So first it goes and declares all the variables, and second time it goes and then it will try to execute all the other statements. So in this case, a with a hello declared with that of a let keyword. But if you see the console log of b, right? So in the first phase, it will go through all the statements, and because the var is defined, right? And because var is a variable which gets hoisted towards the top, right? So it gets hoisted and then the value will be an undefined. So now we have an if statement, which is a block scope. So whatever you define inside this block with a keyword called as let, right, will be scoped to this if condition. So that's the reason if you log b here, it would be a hello world. If you log b without this line, it will be an error without this line. So I declared b with Vinod because b was already declared. Now it is getting initialized. Now the value would be a hello Vinod. So here you need to understand the scope of this variable where b is this function scope. So if you access before, the value would be undefined. If you access after the initialization, then the value would be the initialized value. But the value of b is limited to this if condition because the let is a blocked scope. You can't access b after this block. Now we will see one example regarding this declaration with var and let. So var can be redeclared, whereas let cannot be redeclared. So assuming this var a equal to 10 will print 10, and if you redefine it var a equal to 20, it doesn't give any error. The value will be overridden, and a value will be 20. So coming to the let, right? So let b equal to 10 and let b equal to 20. So this will give a syntax error wherein b has already been defined. So this is little bit of you can say it is a strict typing. So now we'll see an example with that of an hoisting. So variables defined with var gets hoisted, variables defined with let keyword doesn't get hoisted. So here if you log console.log a, and as I told you before, as a JavaScript of a two-step compilation process, the variable would be undefined. So here the console.log of b would throw a reference error because you are accessing the variable before it is getting declared. So with these concepts in place, we'll jump into the solution discussion so that it would be easy for you to understand the solution. So let's just jump into the solution discussion. So in our question, we have a concept called as set timeout. So let's understand a little bit about the set timeout. So set timeout is a timer which executes any piece of code or a function whenever the time expires. So in our question, we have a set timeout which is defined inside the for loop, which was given 100 milliseconds of a timer. So what does this set timeout does is like it executes that console log after 100 milliseconds. Because JavaScript is a single threaded, it executes that for loop condition. So we have here two examples, one with declared with var, one which is declared with that of a let. So now our intention is to solve this question with the concepts which we have known. So for the first obvious, because var is not hoisted, var is not a block scope, the answer would be 3, 3, 3. But coming to that of a let, right? So let, as we discussed, it is a blocked scope. So whenever you have the timer after 100 milliseconds, it remembers where it was executed, and it is a block scope. It remembers that scope, and hence the values of I would be 1, 2, and 3. So solving this question is not only our intention. So our intention, our goal is to understand the concept behind it. So solving only this question doesn't make sense. So what I have done, I have given some examples or some practice code snippets on the topics which we have learned. This is a bonus section. So let's get started. So I recommend you to pause these videos and then try to answer the question and then continue again. Okay, for each example. So here is the example. Uh, Try to pause the video and then guess the answers. The answers would be very simple, but you might be tricked in some places. So because var is declared and then you're declaring console log below it, so obviously the answer should be 5. Uh, Here I have provided a block scope for the variable. As you know, variable is not a block scope, and the value and the next statement of console log will be 3. Because it is not a block scope, the above variable a will be overridden with the value which we have defined, and hence the value would be 3. Hope your answers are correct. Let's jump into the second example. So the same example, I have used a let keyword instead of var. So the first answer would be the same. It would be 5, because now let a equal to 3 console.log, which is inside a block. So obviously again the answer would be 3. Here comes the trick part, and as we already know the concept, so we can easily guess the answer. So because a is not overridden because it is a block scope, and hence the console log of a would be 5 only. So let's get into the third example. So here I have defined var equal to 2 on the top, for loop, and then console logs. Okay. So you can replace var with let in the next console log. So here in the first console log, as we know the concepts, the first answer would be 3. Okay. Now you replace with that of a let. Okay. as let a equal to 2, and inside the for let will be assigned 3, and because it is a block scope, it won't be accessed outside uh, the for loop, but the value of a would be 2 in this case. So the same example question which we have defined, right? So I have tweaked a little bit, and then on the similar lines we'll see what is the output of these questions. So previously, right, we have the same question, and where I equal to 0, and even inside the for loop I have defined this where, uh, as per the previous example, the answer would be 3, 3 and 3. Okay, now gets the trickier part. In the previous example we have seen let has been defined inside the for loop. Now what will happen if at all I define the let on the top and I execute the for loop? Because let is not defined inside the for loop, let is not a blocked scope. Okay, because it's not a block scope, what will happen once the for loop is done, the latest value will be assigned to that of value j, which is let defined. So here also the answers would be 3, 3 and 3. So friends, we have solved a lot of questions, and I hope you got a more understanding. But we can assume what all questions we might get based on these concepts. So these are some additional questions or the concept which you need to learn, or we'll learn in our further videos. So you need to know about the concept called as closures, ifs, and what is event loop.
Thank you, friends. My name is Vinod Kumar Divala. Here you can find some links. One is to my website where you can find some articles over there. Medium, you can find more interesting articles, but not frequently I do post there. Majorly, I concentrate on this YouTube. So as you are on the channel, please do subscribe and share it with your friends. Thank you once again.